And let me now move to Ilham and then Reem. Ilham Ibrahim, she is the director of the Sudan Organization for Research and Development. She had to flee from Khartoum when the war broke out in 2023. Such a very, very sad situation when we had seen what the civil society movement in Sudan had achieved in ousting al-Bashir and then really developing a social infrastructure at very granular community level. And yet Sudan has been defeated and wrapped in this terrible war. So, Ilham, I hope you're there. I'm going to give you the floor on the title, How to Become the Seeds of a New World in Chaos, Reflections by the Director of the Sudan Organization for Research and Development. Ilham Ibrahim.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Prof. Miriam, for this opportunity. And I do share my opinion with Joshua. Really, despite the magnitude of the tragedy in Sudan, but it is by far considered as forgotten and neglected crisis. I don't know whether Kai is going to share the screen, or I do my presentation. I did the presentation just to try not to take.
Yes, it's coming up.
Time, so
Just coming up, Ilham.
Okay. So instead of starting by talking about what SWORD is doing, I started just with few slides on the magnitude of and the impact of this war in Sudan. Currently, 15 million people, Sudanese people, have left their homes. You can go to the next year, Kai. 12 million have been displaced inside Sudan and 3 million outside the country, and this number is underestimated because while we are talking now, more attacks are happening in different parts of Sudan, and accordingly, more people are just fleeing their homes. And regarding the 3 million, those are the ones considered as asylum seekers with UNHCR. But there are so many millions, other millions who have been just migrated without having any registration as refugees or asylum seekers. This war, which erupted by the Sudan Armed Forces and the RSF, the Rapid Forces, and their aligned militias, have really committed grave violations of international human rights and humanitarian laws, especially on women and girls, who are really bearing the brunt of violence, including conflict-related sexual violence. Now we are talking about abuse, harassment, rape, and it's something well known that rape has been used as a weapon of war in Sudan by both parties. And I want to focus on this because even the Human Rights Watch report have documented only the crimes that have been made by the RSF. But I want to make this statement. Both parties have committed these crimes, and the war is taking place on the bodies of women and girls. And it was not secret that rape has been systematically used as a weapon against opposition in the past during the regime of Omar al-Bashir. And that was one of the driving forces and factors that encourage women and human rights defenders to lead the revolution in Sudan in 2018. Next slide, Kai. So, sorry, I'm sorry. Just like Ethiopia and Eritrea, impunity remains deeply forgotten in this ongoing crisis, because now Sudan is just divided into two parts, and no one is really accountable for the crimes they are doing. The areas under the control of RSF and the areas under the control of SAF and the aligned government with SAF, with the aligned militias, including all those fundamentalists. Everybody is taking weapons, everybody doing everything, killing, raping women, looting everything, and there is no any accountability at any level. I want just to talk more about the sexual violence related to conflict, because now women have been raped. We have forced marriages, especially even for girls and children. We have sexual slavery, abduction, economic exploitation, and even slavery, because we have documented cases of women and girls who have been sold in Chad and Niger from Sudan. And those practices have been widely made by the RSF in Western Sudan. Those women have been adopted from Khartoum, Central Sudan, like Jazeera and Darfur region, and have been sold in Chad and Niger. Next. Despite this, I think local groups, especially women and youth-led groups, have really led initiative to support others. Having these communal kitchens, distribution of medicines, organizing group therapy, evacuating some women, girls, and people with disabilities to safer places. And for us as SWORD, we found is like a very important and strategic option is to start working with those groups in different parts of the country. So for us, we consider ourselves as facilitators, just to work with those groups. Via them, we can strike the balance of trying to do something urgent, just to address the urgent needs of people for shelter, for food, for protection, water, sanitation, and primary health care, but at the same time, trying to look at the future, because we'll not be able to continue just like this, because we have militarization, we have hate speech, we have even facing restrictions by the government, because we are talking about peace and the importance of to stop war and the importance to really to have this accountability. So we cannot do this alone unless we have like a wide web of organizations, women-led groups, youth-led groups from different capacities in different locations with different goals together and according to their field of operation and geographical locations, and we try to do something for future as well. Because now, for example, in Eastern Sudan, where we are now operating, we have like 10 different armed groups. Some of them are new, even emerging now. And now we have this militarization culture everywhere. So in order to have like a parallel narrative, talking about peace, talking about to stop war, to stop distributing weapons to civilians is something very risky, and we cannot do it alone unless we have like a big and wide network of civil society actors, so that we do this advocacy together. At the same time, we cannot limit ourselves only at the community level or at the state level. We have to link with other actors in different parts of the country, including the parts that are now under the control of RSF, as well as other actors at the regional level, like African level and the global level. But I think we have this feeling of it's not alone, but we need more to amplify our voices, because the whole issue, maybe because of so many factors like geopolitics, so many actors, so many countries are involved in Sudan, and at the same time, Sudan is not considered as like an important country when compared to Ukraine, for example, or it's not important like what is going on in Gaza. Maybe this is why we don't find so many people talking about Sudan. We don't find Sudan among the top news regarding the level of violations taking place now. So to do some researches, some documentation, to have meetings, to have seminars, to organize some advocacy campaigns, especially in some neighboring countries like Uganda or Kenya, we think this is very, very important. At the same time, we think it's very important also to provide food for people, because now half Sudanese population inside Sudan are facing hunger and famine. Neither the government nor the UN agencies have announced that, but we have famine now in Sudan. So strategically, we cannot continue distributing food. We have to support farmers to resume production, despite the telling that the agricultural lands are shrinking because of security reasons. But despite this, depending on the available resources, we do support agricultural production. We do support training farmers to have more and better agricultural techniques to increase their productivity, to have access. Didn't cultivate, but because some of the production areas are now blocked, so people from Central Sudan and Eastern Sudan, for example, cannot access crops coming from Western Sudan because RSF have blocked all the roads. And no one can even take the risk to send some sorghum to some other parts of Sudan because, and according to RSF, they want to punish Egypt because Egypt is supporting the SAF. So there are so many different dynamics now we are talking about with people. And I was listening to my colleague who was, I think, it's about the involvement of Eritrea in Tigray region. Daniel. Thank you, Daniel. Because now we are suffering from Eritrea again. Eritrea now has two troops, two militias in Sudan. supported, trained by Eritrea. Now they are there in Eastern Sudan, especially Kasala. So the dynamic is, I'm afraid to say, we are facing a serious problem of being collapsed and fragmented Sudan. It's not only having two Sudans, it might be 5 or 6. And this fact may be, there are so many other global and regional dynamics behind that. But anyway, in order to contribute on that, I know it's so big, I know it's beyond our capacities, but at least to send the message of the importance of being one Sudan, the importance of being able to respect others, to respect our diversity, and to be committed to our own country. This is something very important for us to lead among the youth and young groups and even children who have been denied even the right to education. Now we are talking about, and we are working to sending children to schools because they didn't go to school for 2 years. Simply because the schools now are considered as IDP reception areas, centers. So to work with whatever is there, having specific schools, supporting shifts in school, supporting teachers so that they work for more than one shift, so that children don't not to be denied the right to education. And we have the fear that girls are not going to schools. And the armed groups are just threatening girls with this sexual violence. So families, because they're afraid of raping their girls, then they just encourage them to get married.
Ilham.
Sometimes from RSF and soldiers.
Ilham,
So to conclude, I wanted just to say, despite all this chaos, we are trying to just to strike a balance between responding to the emergency, the humanitarian responses, trying to have more gendered humanitarian responses, because women now don't have access to health, to reproductive health facilities, to dignity kits. The infrastructure in Sudan has been disrupted totally. The hospitals, the schools, the universities, everything. So it's like a wide range of humanitarian immediate responses, at the same time, capacity building for women groups, for young groups, at the same time, working at the research level and advocacy that is informed by the documentation and the researches we are doing. I'm going to stop here, and thank you so much.
Thank you very, very much, Ilham. You need a lot more time to be able to speak about everything that's going on in Sudan, and so sorry to cut the time. But thank you, really, Ilham. You're so incredibly courageous with your team, and you said what we are living is a militarization culture. And a culture in which there is a full impunity on the attack that involves all of the different parts of society that are there to protect the civilian population.